Listen, holy crap noodles and a bowl of chicken soup, man. There was a lot of crap that went on in this episode. Like, I know we were talking before the show a little bit, and you were saying maybe not as much, but you've been reading the Fire and Blood series, so maybe you're expecting a little more than what I got to see. But to me, like, dude, I got a page and a half of notes, and that's just shorthand. That ain't even like that. Yeah, that's not even like me writing down the paragraphs of stuff that was going on. So I really enjoyed the episode. A lot of stuff going on. It is what it is. You got homegirl and her uncle doing the thing. Some people don't like that kind of stuff, but it is what it is. It's part of that world, part of that history. So we got to have some of that stuff going on. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. Before we get started, man, what you think about the episode?
No, like I was saying, like I was just expecting more. Just because of, like, obviously last episode we were setting everything, we were wrapping up to everything about to go down, right? And then we do get a little bit of that big boom at the end of the last episode. So I'm like, okay, just continue on from that big boom and give us more. But then the first half of this episode is kind of got to slow down. You have like a funeral and everybody's all sad and it's kind of quiet and whatever. At least just for the first half. That's why I was expecting more, because I'm like, okay, we're ramping up again, but we just ramped up. So why are we ramping up again this first half of the episode? I thought we were just going to continue.
It's according on Game of Thrones to me has always been that weird thing, because it's according on what you like. There's moments in, say, the original Game of Thrones, like the Red Wedding or something like that, right? That's like big and huge, and like the Battle of the Bastards and stuff, and all that stuff's super great. But then there's also times when it comes to like this kind of thing, like where it's like there's that intrigue that's not that battles are like something super huge and big. Like, for instance, like in the original Game of Thrones with Hodor, you finding out like why his name is that, what he's supposed to do and everything else, like are just like the things that Littlefinger or Varys was doing during that time, like behind the scenes and all that. Like, those kind of scenes were just as powerful as, say, like some of the big scenes, Battle of the Bastards and all that kind of stuff happening.
Yeah, so I absolutely agree. I just like when you get to a peak and then you just want to continue on from that peak. That's where I thought it was going. Just like after the Battle of Bastards, right after you go, the beginning of the episode, you go into Cersei blowing up the set. That's all I'm talking about. It's like, okay, we get a big boom. Let's continue on the big boom and keep going with that. We like I said, I do think we got great stuff. Like I said, the second half was a lot better, and I thought we got great stuff. All the events that happened in that part of the episode. I thought that was fantastic.
Well, we start off the episode. We got Lauren's funeral. That's the lady that was married to Daemon. And she's the one that, because in childbirth she was probably going to die, and she chose to go die in the dragon fire. And so they're actually having that funeral. So this episode's no big time jumps or anything like that. There is a little bit of time, obviously, that's went. She had to get shipped, back home and all this kind of stuff so they could have the funeral. So there's a little bit of time that passed, but no big time jumps like we had like last episode where it jumped like 10 years. And I will say, going into the next episode, I think it jumps like another 6 years. And that's a weird setup for like a show in a lot of ways, but like in this show particularly, like I actually appreciate it, not because I appreciate the time gaps that we're going through, but I appreciate the fact that they did at least make the opportunity to like set up the characters. The characters are getting set up this way. People's being able to like get together and like we're being able to see relationships like for a little while and get to see like that Alicent and Rhaenyra was like friends at one time, like really good friends actually at one time, and then how that slowly becoming like broke apart. And we get to see like just the way the king has been acting through this whole thing, through this whole story. And if they would have jumped to say the action stuff, like the nitty gritty right off the bat, you wouldn't have been able to like appreciate some of the stuff that you're getting now, like in this thing. But we did have the funeral, like I was talking about, a couple of key things, and then we'll talk about the funeral as a whole. But a couple of key things with the funeral is Otto is handed the king. First thing they show is like him kind of standing there, and they kind of pan down. You see he's handed the king. That's why I said there is a little bit of a time like period here where like things do change. You've got there's a part in here where Daemon laughs like kind of uncomfortably. See, like Damon's this weird cat, like, because I do believe overall, like, you could say he's evil. I don't know if you could say he's evil, but he's definitely bad, right? Like, you know that he's set up certain things and done certain things that's not great. Okay, so like that's being set up with everything and all that. So,
well, I guess
the thing about it is like,
yes.
well, it's like with the death earlier in the season, like, you know, he's there, and then right afterwards he goes out drinking and everything else. But like he looks remorseful during the time period that's happening for that funeral of the king's wife at the time. And in this scene, I don't think he's laughing to make mockery or anything. To be honest, I think it's one of those like, oh, like I'm uncomfortable because I have to be here. I don't really care to be here that much, and all these other people are sad and they're saying their words and all this stuff. And like, I think he does it in an uncomfortable way. Like, you know how some people would giggle but because they're uncomfortable, not because they think something specifically funny. But I think that's what that's going on with that.
Yeah, I thought that he was just laughing about whatever the guy was saying. He was just kind of thought that, oh well, look at all this, kind of laughs it all off. And you know, like just in like a whatever kind of way, like it is what it is. I'm gonna sit here and laugh about all these people, and because he's looking around and seeing all these people and what they thinking, or how what next move they're gonna make. I think that's kind of what he's laughing about.
Yeah, totally understand all of that. And then we have one little quick note is we also learned during this time that Laris, I'm just calling him the Whisperer because he's pretty much like the first person to actually like be like a what you would call like back in the day when we see Master of Whispers or whatnot. He's kind of the start of this whole stuff. We find out he's the Lord of Harrenhal now. So like, not only did he kill like some of his family members, but now he's taken over as Lord of Harrenhal, which I'm going to assume that Alicent probably gave him. Alicent probably gave him lordship of Harrenhal, not only because, you know, he's a family member and stuff like that, but because of what he ended up doing to stop something that she didn't like, even though she didn't specifically ask for him to go kill them. We also have the kid. I thought another interesting thing during this funeral was like one of the younger kids. You got Jason, I think Luke. I can't remember which one is the younger one though. I think that you have the person over there, the Lord of Dreadmark, talking to him because he's, you know, basically they're kin, you know what I'm saying? Like, not everybody's automatically assuming that these kids are bastards. And he's talking to him and talking about how he's possibly going to be lordship of a certain stuff. And the kid's like, I don't want to be Lord. I don't want it. And then the guy bends down. He says like, well, this is your birthright. And the kid says something very poignant to me that was really cool. He was like, if I'm the Lord, then that means everybody's dead. So like, that was actually a pretty like big thing that I picked up there, and pretty interesting part of the episode where he was just like, yo, like, you do realize like if I become Lord of something, like all the people in front of me or ahead of me is dead. And he doesn't want that because he's an innocent kid at this point, you know, like he doesn't really want to partake in all that stuff. So yeah, man, you got anything to
and I just think like he knows the truth. He knows that, I mean, you guys ain't really related. But the Corliss, he's just sticking to it. Like, I like the part where he said like, it don't even matter if we ain't blood, because it just matters about how we remembered. If they think we family, then that's all that matters to me, because that's all my legacy is gonna be going forward. And I think that's important, because, like I said, in the original Game of Thrones series, there's no Valerians. So, I mean, he's got a point to say, like, it don't even matter. As long as we keep this going, that's what people are going to remember. Because obviously, I don't know how many people remember the Valerians when it comes to the current Game of Thrones timeline.
Yeah, and I'm like just looking at there was a lot of stuff that happened to me. So like you were talking about how the show was kind of slow during this certain part of everything happening, but at the same time, like I noticed a lot of stuff during this time. The two brothers, the King and Daemon, like they, they have a kind of another little falling out because the king's like, yo, I know I sent you off, but like, hey, this is a time to be family together and everything. And he's trying to reconcile the relationship, partly probably because he's on his way out the door because of like things that are going on, with his health and everything else. So, but yeah, like they just sat there and like Damon wasn't playing no part of it. He's like, I don't care, I don't need anything. Because the king was like, like you may need something, and Damon's like, I don't need anything, I'm good to go. And he kind of is, you know what I'm saying? He's been kind of just chilling and building up wealth and having friends in places like Pentos and stuff like that. So he's just been doing his own thing. Like, I do think that he has slowly set a lot of this stuff up that we're going to see, like a little bit of it behind the scenes, obviously with his wife dying and everything else. Like a lot of people don't know exactly like if he's the one that did it or not and all that stuff. So with that being said, like, you have anything to go along with that? Also, before you start though, you can also speak on another thing I noticed was Christian Cole was being sent away from the queen, like, because he had to do like night duty or whatever, or night guard duty or whatnot. And everything else. I thought that was pretty interesting as well.
Yeah, because the other dude said, "Should I attend the queen?" And he's like, "Nah, you take the watch." I don't know if that's the king realizing maybe they should be separated. That's why he doesn't want her all the time. But he, obviously, is sworn to him. But yeah, it just seems like Damon just like kind of like over all this stuff. That's why he didn't want to even come back in the first place, because he's just like over it. Like, he don't want to be any part of any of this type of stuff going on, unless it's with the Rhaenyra, that's something he would want, and that's, like you said, obviously in the episode we see the events that take place to show that that's his main focus. I mean, it's like if that's not going to happen, then kind of like screw all this. And he obviously has a conversation with the king. The king wants him to come back and be in his court and whatnot. But he's just like, nah, like, I'm good. Like, I just want to do my own thing and just let it be, and that's just kind of where he is at. But like I said, he knows where his focus is at, and knows what he wants. He wants from there, and that's where his game is at.
All right. We also had after the funeral was over and everything else, you also had Damon and the queen. They talk about like she talks about Damon abandoning her and stuff whenever she was younger and stuff, and she's been gone all this time and left her alone, and she's had to deal with a lot of issues and stuff like that without any of his help and everything. And then as they continue talking, that's where they start to make that sweet Targaryen love that some people don't mind and some people don't like.
Who did? Those people are weird.
Well, I mean, some people don't care. Like I was telling Matt, somebody in our Discord earlier, is like, it doesn't bother me because I know these people are actors.
Well, I mean,
like,
obviously,
it's not like you're watching, right. And because I'm thinking about that in my head, it doesn't bother me. But like, if this was like real people and real family, and we were watching like foot, it'd be sickening. But like, and that's a little bit of the difference. And some people, like I was telling Matt as well, like some people like can't do that. Some people get lost in the show, so like they're really into it, almost like they're there watching it and stuff like that. So it can be hard for them to see some of those scenes and everything else. It got pretty graphic, but it didn't get super graphic like Game of Thrones has gotten in the past. So I do give them a lot of props for that, because it could have got even worse. Then after that, we move on to some dragon action, because you got the big Rhaegar dragon that's out there that obviously didn't have a dragon rider anymore, because that was Lauren's dragon, and now she's dead. We just had the funeral, obviously. Aemon, the younger of the queen's kids, goes out there to claim Rhaegar, like, and he shows a lot of courage and stuff. Like, he looked like a little punk kid in one of the earlier episodes, but like he comes out, shows a lot of bravery here, and like and he claims Rhaegar, gets on him and everything else, and flies around and all that. So I thought that was actually a really cool scene, really cool dragon flying and stuff like that. That was pretty awesome. Looked really good as well, like the CGI. I'm not an expert by no means. Sometimes I can't pick some of that stuff out, but the CGI I thought was like really super good, and the dragon, it makes the dragons look real, and I thought that scene was done really well at the same time. Like it was just one of those things to where I thought it was really cool looking. Like if anything else, like and like it was pretty crazy that Amon was the one that was able to go out there, because most people may not know that dragon's like super big. One of the reasons is like the oldest dragon I think is alive.
It's the oldest one.
Yeah, so like it's the oldest dragon that's still alive. So he gets Rhaegar, which actually turns out to be a big thing because you think about it. You got the greens and blacks now. If you don't realize, the queen's people are going to be known as the greens, and the princesses, Rhaenyra's stuff's going to be known as the blacks. And this gives them a big ass dragon to be helping in their fights. That's obviously going to be coming ahead in future episodes. And everything else, because we got like 3 episodes, I think, because this was episode 7, so we got 8, 9, and 10 to go. And yeah, man, that sets that up pretty good, I thought. And like I said, it looked really good as well.
Yeah, I hate to jump ahead, but this probably is the most important part to me, because it does give them, like the Lord Hightower said it, said himself, like he said, like this, hey. It may have got lost in my eye, but hey, that's important that we got this dragon, because that's gonna be the biggest baddest dragon out of them all. And if we got this on our side, then hell, that's a major piece we got when everything's about to go down. And because he knows there war coming, and he knows that's like, you know, having like the biggest battleship or the biggest, you know, aircraft or whatever you want to you know, analogize it to modern times, because you know they got you know, big ass nuke on their side, which will definitely help in you know, any type of, you know, dragon on dragon battle. So yeah, I thought that was probably the most important scene right there.
Yeah, well, I mean that, and because it sets up stuff in the future, we got you know, and then we have another big scene. He gets off the dragon. The 2 girls, the daughters of the lady who passed away and they had the funeral for, they come out along with the 2 princesses' kids, who are obviously the bastards or whatnot. They come down with them as well. Amon gets off the dragon, comes walking through, and they're like, oh, the one girl has a problem because I was like, that's my mom's dragon. And then Amon's like, nah, that ain't, I mean, well, yeah, true, but like I claimed him, and she was like, he was supposed to be mine to ride, and he was like, why didn't you claim him then? And so then that just starts a dispute, and they have these kids that are like beating the crap out of each other and everything, like almost like an adult fight out there. The girls got pushed around, like one of them got punched right in the face. Then the 2 boys try to they actually jump on him, and they're beating him up a little bit. He gets away from them. Amon does. He grabs a rock. The other boy has like a knife and a dagger, and Amon's like threatening the younger kid, and the older kid with the dagger comes at him, and they kind of go at it, and then the older kid gets hit, and then the younger kid gets the dagger who got dropped and goes at him and cuts home dude right in the face, bad enough actually that it causes Amon to lose an eye, which was pretty big scene right there. A lot of things happening and going on with it. Yeah, just a lot of stuff, man. Like a lot of action there. Like I said, lost an eye. That's a big deal, and we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, I thought this was a big key scene, because now you see the younger kids are actually now not just like playing around and calling each other names and stuff like that. Like they're actually getting super serious and everything, and to the point now they're drawing daggers on each other and making one lose an eye. Like one of them's threatening to knock the other one out with his rock.
They already started the war. Like they already know their sides, and they already started the fighting. So they already getting going. But it just shows like that all that bullying that the you know, the one kid took that we saw in last episode. I mean, that probably hardened him to, you know, because he was taking them all on. Like they were all ganging up on him, and he was holding his own. He fought them all off of him. And you know, that dude's tough, bro. Like he like I said, he took the you know dagger right to the eye. you know, and he ain't even phased by it. That's why, like, he goes up, says like, yeah, I lost an eye, got a dragon. So it is what it is, you know. It do seem like he's gonna be a major part going forward, at least in battle wise, because he looks like he's a pretty good fighter even at this age.
Yeah, so like after that, we have a big scene where all the family pretty much and some bystanders are sitting in this hall and chilling for a second, and then like obviously the kids come up there. The one kid's getting his eyes sewed up and everything else. Obviously, the queen, she's demanding some kind of justice, and then the princess comes in there and she's like, "What happened?" You got 4 of the kids talking about how he came in there and attacked them and stuff like that, and they were doing it under self-defense. And then he's sitting there. The king shows like a lot of energy that his body's falling apart. So it's pretty crazy. He had this much energy to get up. He gets loud, tells everybody to shut up. And then he asked the younger Amon, like, why, what happened and everything else. And then like one of the kids told the princess, like, he had called him a bastard. So she brings that up, like, where did he learn this? He needs to be questioned. And the king questions him. He says his older brother knew it. And then he goes up to his older brother. His older brother's like, look at him, like everybody knows it, kind of thing. The king gets pissed off about that situation. He threatens to cut off anybody's tongue that was going to be talking about it anymore after this and everything else. During this, the queen, she's pissed off because like the king really just says everybody needs to kind of apologize. We got to let this go, everything else. And she's like, no, we need to do an eye for an eye. She calls out eye for an eye basically and says like, oh, one of her kids needs to lose an eye. And so that sparks something. The king turns around and says, this is over. And she grabs a dagger, goes at him. She ends up cutting the Princess Rhaenyra, and the princess kind of whispers to her like, yo, everybody sees who you are now, kind of thing, which I thought was like a big moment, key moment there. Also during this, Christian Cole's kind of called out because she said she tells Cole to go and take the eye right before she grabs the dagger. And she's like, you're sworn to me. And that kind of calls out something right there. Got a little looks because like, no, he's actually sworn to the king. He's part of the king's guard. So like, he tries to add the part at the end of it, like, due to service or whatever. But like, yeah, he's kind of almost called out at that moment. And then as she goes after Rhaenyra to like stab her, Daemon walks in and cuts him off because Christian Cole was on his way over there and stops him from getting over there and everything else. But yeah, a bunch of craziness happened. Crap hit the fan everywhere, and all that. So it's just one of those things where like this is one of those scenes I think that a lot of people will be going back to. A lot of things happened during the scene. You could tell by the way I was just talking about it. Like a lot of details was found out here. A lot of things was said. A lot of things was done. This kicks off the battle. Once you see this scene right here, you know that from here on out, it is just done. Like shit's happening. Like nobody's going to be happy unless they get some kind of revenge for one another. I mean, for one, you got the queen mad because her kid lost an eye, but he did end up getting a dragon, I guess, out of it. Like the kid even says that at one point during the thing, like, yo, like, don't mourn for me. My eye may be gone, but I gained a dragon and all that kind of good stuff. But, then you got the princess looking like, yo, she actually just tried to call one of my kids to get their eye cut out. So like now, it's the battle lines between them two at least have been drawn. And because they got different people on their side, and everything else, especially with the queen's dad, who Otto's back. Obviously, he's the hand of the king, and he comes in and talks to her, and he basically says like, "Yo, I'm proud of you. Like, I'm glad you have the whatnot." You grab that dagger and try to go at her, and everything else. But like I said, there's a lot of shit going on here during this point in time in the show. This is going to be something that gets heavily watched back. Shoot, I had to watch it back because at first I thought Christian Cole got stabbed by Daemon because of the way it looked, the way he was holding his arm and stuff. But then, like, when I went back and looked, he just kind of shoulder blocked him or whatnot. So, man, there's a lot of stuff.
Also, when he's asking the kid, like, where you hear that rumor from, and he's just, like, looking right at his mom, and his mom's kind of like, no, you hear that from me. So he's kind of looking to what do, and obviously blames it on his brother. And then the brother just comes out right and says, it's like, come on, dude. Like, we all know. That ain't her kids. You're the only one that doesn't want to see it. And he just like, yeah, well, we're gonna cut that off. Like he just doesn't want to like recognize like like I said, he wants to stick to that. That's how much I think he has his daughter's back. That he just willfully just gonna just ignore the fact that that those aren't his those aren't the one dude's kids. But he's just gonna ignore that fact because he's gonna stick to his decision because he's trying to stick to his decision that she's the heir. I want this to happen because I made this decision. Now I'm gonna have your back on this one, and that's what kind of the queen's just like, well, what the hell? Like, I'm your wife. You swore to me. You swore to be by my side, so you should be taking my side on this one, and you should be punishing her kids. And that's why she just felt like, well, then who the hell do I got on my side? So I guess I could take, things in my own hands. And what she did, she went after the kid. And yeah, I thought that was just a great back and forth because you tell, that they used to be friends, but now how much anger she has at her, over the years, built up anger, and how much, that friendship turned so much into what it is now. And yeah, like I said, just lines been drawn, and I think everything is pretty much aired out by now. I mean, King's only one that wants to stick his head in the sand, not say everything's cool and everything's fine. Everybody just kiss and make up and everything, but that's just not going to happen. And this is start of everything about to go down. And yeah, the Lord Hightower. Yeah, because he's like, yeah, I mean, I didn't think you really had it in you to, take what's yours and, step up to the plate and, do what needs to be done. I'm not going to get mad at you. Yeah, you may look a fool, but, hey, you do what you need to do. So I thought.
I think it's her dad's fault that, like, she's in this position because, her dad, put in that. I mean, he put in. For one, I think the king sides with his daughter more than her because he realizes, he even said it. That's why he kicked King Otto. Absolutely. I mean, not King Otto, but the hand Otto out of his service because of the fact that he knew and realized that, like, Otto sent his daughter to smooze him. You know what I'm saying? To, like, kind of get in there and get in his good graces. Like, he knows that was set up. So, like, I think in the back of his head, the deed's already been done. He's been married for years now. And he probably still loves her to a certain point. But, like, I still think he's got that back of his head. Like, does she really love him, or is she just there so that she can be the queen, right? Like, so that the Otto and stuff like that and Hightower can have, like, a spot in court and everything else. So I think that's why he sides with his daughter in more cases than not, because that's his daughter. Like, that's never going to change. But how the queen feels about him and whatnot about certain situations. Like, and then Otto is also the one that planted into her head, like, yo, when she becomes queen, she's going to take everything that's yours and she's going to, like, harm you. Like, he was saying that basically if she doesn't step in and start doing some things and changing some things, that, like, she's going to be the one on the short end of the stick, and that, like, Rhaenyra is going to, like, do something horrible to her, which we never know. And the way the characters acted in the show, for instance, I don't think Rhaenyra would have done that. Like, I think, like, the way her character is like, and we're about to talk about it here because, like, Daemon and her get married, and we got her husband, like, it looks like Daemon is setting up for an assassination attempt with his boyfriend, because, like, obviously in the show, that's why she has kids with another man, is because her husband, doesn't like women. And so, like, when that's happening, you think, oh, well, they're getting an assassin. And then the scene happens, you see them start to fight, and then it cuts away, it comes back, and then there's somebody burning in the fire, and then that part happens, and you're like, oh shit. But then, like, home dude's getting in a boat, and then, like, one guy's running to the boat and jumps in, and you find out home dude cut his hair, he disguised himself, like, he's actually getting out of there. So, like, both Daemon and Rhaenyra could have, like, just been cold-blooded and just had him killed anyway so that they could get married. Yeah. But no, they gave him a bunch of money and said, y'all want to live y'all's life how you want to live it, like, go. There's places over there across the narrow sea that you can just be whoever you want to be, especially if you got the right amount of gold. So, like, that was a big key thing to me. And because they did that to him, I don't think Rhaenyra would have ever done anything bad towards the queen. I think that maybe they don't have the greatest relationship ever because there's going to be a little bit of a jealousy there and all this kind of stuff of whose kid's going to get on the throne and everything else. But with that being said, I just don't think she was going to go and do anything, like, horrible to her and stuff like her father was kind of leaning towards. I just don't agree like with that situation. So I think her father has put her in a bad situation, and we'll find out where that lands her. Like obviously later in the show, probably not even through the part of season 1. It's probably going to be something we learn in like another season or something like that, leading forward to all this stuff to goes. But all I know is all the stuff that I said just then. That's pretty much everything that we had in this episode to really talk about. But my last comment that I wrote in my notes was, and the game begins, because now it does begin. Like the show that we've been watching is a bunch of like things that are going on politically in the world that's setting up for this kind of like Game of Thrones to start happening. Well, that's why the original was called Game of Thrones. It's about the people wanting to get on the throne or be around the throne. And we had everything leading up to this point. But now that the chess piece has been moved, the game has started. And now it's like, where you at, what you got, and who you got as friends. And let's see where it goes from there.
I just wanted to go back to what you're saying, why he was taking his daughter's side, obviously because it's his daughter, but also he did make that comment to Damon when they were talking about his daughters and how much they look like their mother, and he kind of says like, well, yeah, isn't that something like, and I think that's why he has so much attachment to his daughter, because obviously he feels bad about what happened to her mother, and that she reminds him of her a lot. That's why he wants to he feels so strongly about doing what's right by her, and wants to stick to her and have her back. But yeah, I definitely agree with you. Like between Alice and her wouldn't have been so much of a problem if it wasn't for Lord Hightower just kind of manipulating the whole situation to get what he wants, obviously, for his lineage to be on the Iron Throne. But he also could, like, it is for him, but it's also, like you said, I do see his point. Like, even though he wants his grandkids to be on there, it's still for the realm. It's still for the realm, because they know what the kingdom thinks about having a woman as a king or as a queen or as a ruler. So he knows that ain't gonna end well. So he's trying to manipulate the situation. So it was self-serving. But I think, like I said, I do think Alicent and her father are self-serving, kind of getting her kids, but it also is just kind of what's going to happen. They just kind of see, that's just they're going to become conflict with Rhaenyra as the queen.
No, yeah, I agree. Pretty excited about the next episode because, like I said, this is like the bomb that got dropped, and now we're going to see the shrapnel and where it lands and who gets hit by the shrapnel and everything else, and everything else in the next couple episodes. There's only 3 left, but it is like I'm sitting here going like, damn, this was pretty big. Like, this was almost big enough to be the setup for a last episode. Like, okay, the next episode is going to be the last one of the season, and because this was a lot of stuff happening, a lot of big things happen. But we actually have 3 more episodes left before the season's over with, so I'm pretty excited to see it and everything else. But before I forget, man, if y'all haven't already, please subscribe to the channel there and everything else. We appreciate all the subscriptions and everybody that watches. Thank you guys 100% for for the support and all that kind of stuff. And unless you got anything last to say, we heading out.
No, I'm good.
All right. Till next time. Peace. All right, I'm heading out.
You didn't end it.
What an idiot.